Welcome back, Shalligators. I took a little bit of a break. I just needed some time off. And honestly, I'm gonna be taking another one soon because I'm getting a chemical peel and I will not be fit for just society, let alone the internet. Anyway, I had to come back to talk about this Armie Hammer situation. It was something I had decided to ignore because I was like, unsavory. But so many of you guys messaged me about it on Instagram. Follow me at ShallonXO. And we're like, we need to know. And one of you really honed in on the perfect topic. What do you do when a guy is pressuring you into something sexual you don't want to do? How do you know when something is just fun and kinky and when it's abusive and destructive? We're going to break all that down and I'm going to share my opinion on this Armie Hammer situation. It's going to be controversial, as I do. It might not be the popular opinion, but I do think I'm right. Don't I always? Right? But before we get started, just want to remind you, for a limited time, we only have a few left of the warm-blooded necklace. It's my new collaboration with Vault NYC, a woman-run business. And I want you guys to get jazzed because we have a new Shall Literature book club selection. We are reading the Jessica Simpson memoir, Open Book. Now I know, Jessica Simpson. But so many friends recommended this book and they're like, I know, same. I was like, who cares? But there were so many moments in the book that had me going, yep. Oh my God, yes, yes. Whether she was talking about dating toxic people and losing yourself, twisting yourself into whoever you feel like you had to be in order to be successful or loved or keep everyone happy. Talking about body shaming and fame and there was just so much. I cried my way through the whole thing. I really did. And so I read the first half in the book, but then I listened to the second half on audiobook. She narrates it herself and it really feels like she's talking to you. She's very conversational. So I recommend that method. And I'm not an audiobook person, but I loved it. So hit the link in the bio. You can pick it up on Amazon. And we've also got a new video up on InStream about how to make a guy more spicy. If you're looking to jazz things up in bed and he's a little bit more vanilla, I'm gonna give you some tips on how to introduce some spice into the bedroom without freaking him out or coming off as a super weirdo. Okay, Armie Hammer. Oh, brother. So if you don't know who Armie Hammer is, it's tempting to think that he is the Arm and Hammer, the baking soda heir. He's not. He's a different heir. He's the heir of an oil tycoon. His great-great-grandfather, Armand Hammer, was an oil tycoon, and it's kind of a lot of money. So Armie is also named Armand Hammer after his grandfather. And you might know him from that movie about the beginnings of Facebook, The Social Network. He played the Winklevoss twins, the Winklevi. He played both of them. He's also been in, I don't know, fucking other things. A lot of fantasies of mine. He's so hot. I've always been oh, dreamy. But some things have come out that are less than dreamy. There are some DMs that a woman, we don't know who she is, claims are from him and that they're disturbing and abusive and all of these things. Here's my unpopular opinion. After reading all of these messages, after reading about this saga inside and out, I don't see an abusive man. I just see a shitty one. Now, of course, abusive men are shitty, but not all shitty men are abusive. Some are just shitty. I see a cheating man who is doing exactly what all cheaters are trying to do. Feel alive. So before we get into this, let's read some of these text messages, okay?
So for some context, he recently split from his wife, Elizabeth Chambers, who he'd been married to for 10 years, and he had 2 kids. This is an important factor. A very important factor. Their divorce is not finalized. They're trying to hammer out custody. And I think that is at the root of why all this is happening. So let's read some of these texts. A woman, yes, claims that, and her big proof is that he sent her a picture of his hand on a movie script that has a distinct tattoo on his ring finger, his wedding finger. And she's like, see, this is my proof. I don't know why a man who's talking all this sex stuff would send you a picture of his hand. Kind of seems like he'd send you a picture of something else. This seems like a picture that maybe he would have sent his agent. Look, I'm working on the script. Do you know what I mean? If you're talking about wanting to fuck someone so bad, this just wouldn't be the picture I'd send. It's ooh, baby, I can't wait to get you over here. Here's a picture of my crock pot. It's just, okay, those don't compute to me. But, so, because a lot of people are saying these are fake messages. And You guys, it is so easy to fake messages. I'm not saying that these are fake. I do kind of believe they're real, but we all do need to remember that it's very possible to fake messages. And a lot of people really don't have anything better to do. They don't. They have nothing better to do than sit around and make shit up for attention. People are losers out there. But like I said, I do think these are real. So here is just a little slice of life from what he was DMing. You just live to obey and be my slave. I will own you. That's my soul, my brain, my spirit, my body. Would you come and be my property till you die? If I wanted to cut off one of your toes and keep it with me in my pocket so I always had a piece of you in my possession? I feel like the same way you're on one side of the slave spectrum, I am on the other side of the master spectrum, and I can't imagine any other slave. I don't even want one. It would never feel as strongly. Ugh, fuck, too drunk and honest. No matter what happens, we've tested that to the extreme. I'm 100% a cannibal. I want to eat you. I need to drink your blood. Okay. People are like, oh my God, he wants to eat her and kill her. I've said to boys, boy, I could eat you alive right now. Come over here. I don't think anyone thought, oh, Shallon's going to eat. Like, come on. When we take so many of not even just our dirty talk, but our text messages and like copy and paste them without context, it's like, we're all monsters. We are all fucking monsters. I was talking about this issue on my group chat with my tit friends and one. Because I was like, this is just to me like fantasy talk, but we'll break this down. And one of my friends is like, oh, if you read my diary, you'd be like, she's a serial killer. The way I talk about like my coworkers I'm mad at. And my other friend was like, the amount of times I whisper, I will fucking kill you to people who live in my house with me, like whether it's my husband or whoever, like I should be locked up too. I'm like, exactly. Like, and especially dirty talk and especially dirty behavior in bed. Like, I like a good choke. Don't you run up on me on the street and put your hand around my throat. I like to have my hair pulled. You come up to me and pull my hair, you're going to get a fucking broken jaw. Don't ever do that. I hate it. But like, there's things that are appropriate in the bedroom that are absolutely weird if you take them out of context. So there was one part of this text message, one part of this thread that this person, this accuser added that to me says it all. Because it's important to remember that this was all happening while he was married. They're thinking around like 2016 or something. He was very much married. And Armie has said in the past, he's like talked a lot about like fetish stuff, and he's like gone through and liked a lot of like kinky tweets and whatever. Tacky, but okay. He said that before he got married, he's like, I was typically, and he's like, how do I say this without embarrassing my parents? I was a dominant lover. You know, I liked, you know, grabbing the throat, grabbing the hair. And when you're married, he's like, that's changed. That's changed. He's like, no. It's changed for the better, but it has changed. For the better? I don't know a lot of spicy people who go vanilla and think it's an upgrade. I don't. I just don't. And there's nothing wrong with being vanilla. Vanilla is, to me, truly the best flavor. It's the ice cream I get. But like, if that's not what you're into, that's not what you're into. And that's okay. But I think that that was extremely telling. But okay, hold on. Just we'll put a pin in there. Like I said, there was one thing that this accuser added in these leaked screenshots that says it all. When he said, I am on the other side of the master spectrum and I can't imagine another slave. She added a note that said, literally had multiple slaves when he said this lie. Girl, you're not an abused woman. You're a jealous woman. There's a big difference. I wouldn't be mad that my rapist had other people he'd raped. I mean, of course you'd be mad from the standpoint of, holy shit, this monster is out there doing that. No. That's not what that phrase said. He said I was the only one and he was lying. That's a woman who wanted this man for herself. That is a woman who was a willing participant in this. I'm like, fine, whatever your freaky thing is, who fucking cares? That is not a woman who is held hostage by fear. I'm sorry, it doesn't skew that way for me. But in this video, we're going to talk about what to do if you are that way, okay? So I'm not saying that we all have to be willing that, no. But in this instance, That is very telling. And I think it's also telling that, like I said, Armie's in the middle of this custody deal with his wife. This, to me, is a woman who didn't get what she wanted. She probably thought he was going to leave his wife. Maybe she pushed herself past her boundaries and was like, hey, if I just do all this weird shit in bed, he's going to love me more. He's going to love me more. He's going to see my value. He's going to appreciate me. Girl, haven't we all been there? For sure. For sure. And then when he didn't leave his wife, well, scorched earth. Now that he has left his wife, she probably thought he's going to come back. He's going to come back to me. And when he didn't, she's like, that's it. I'm going absolutely nuclear. If I can't have him, I will destroy us both, right? I'm going to release these messages. I'm going to fuck that custody deal so hard. I'm going to do things to hurt him. Who's the abusive one? Kind of doesn't seem like him. He's shitty. He's shitty, for sure. But if this truly is the motivation of this accuser, and people are tweeting like, how can you even question if these are real? And how sad we live in a society that believes the accuser over the victim. No, my society right here in this video is me living in a world where we don't need to destroy a man's career and alienate him from his children because he cheated on his wife and didn't leave the wife for the mistress. Call me crazy. His wife has called these messages like sickening and horrible. And I think she's like, oh, such ammunition for this divorce. I think she's psyched. So what was I saying before about not an abuser, just a shitty dude trying to feel alive? Do you remember? Probably not. But back in the day when Angelina Jolie was into like blood play, and she would talk about how like her first love, like some high school boyfriend, her first sex, she's like, it didn't feel intense enough just to have sex. So we would like cut each other and there'd be blood. And she's like, I wanted to feel so alive. I just needed to feel that aliveness. And to me, that was like danger and forbiddenness and weird gothy shit, right? What has science and studies all told us about why people cheat? To feel alive and to explore different sides of their personality. Those two reasons. Now, Armie has already said that his sex life went from like spicy dominant to different. Okay, so that to me points to a deterioration of aliveness and a deterioration of exploring different sides of his personality. Now he can't choke someone. Now he can't be like master slave, which like, dude, sex is the only thing that is just free. It's just free. They can't tax it. They can't regulate it. Nobody else is witnessing it. I mean, be weird. Be weird. Experiment. Have fun. Let go of the guilt and the shame. If you're super religious, do you think God put these motivations in your heart? Like, you're not hurting anyone. If two people are consensual, you're not hurting anyone. But we're going to talk about what happens if it isn't. But we're not there yet. We're still breaking down Armie, right? So I look at this dude and these messages not as a man who genuinely wants to like eat someone and carry their toes around. I look at it as a volcano that has erupted, as a man who has been, and look, he is no victim here, honey, who has been in a relationship where he doesn't feel alive, doesn't feel like he can explore these sides of himself or express himself. And so he finds a woman that is either genuinely into this or who's malleable enough that he can sort of like bully her into being into it. And she's like, okay, yeah, my toes. She's not putting up proper boundaries for a variety of reasons. And he's just like on drugs. This is a heroin-like high. And that vibe comes through in his messages. I can't get enough of you. I'm a substitute. I want to eat you. Blah, blah, blah. That's like, that is obsession and fixation. We know that isn't love though, right? This girl probably didn't know that. And it's when you're in it, it's very hard to see that. He's obsessed with me. Oh my God, he wants to like unhinge his jaw and swallow me whole. Like, what is that if not love? Well, it's obsession. And they truly are not the same thing. Love is metered. You know, love is not that wild roller coaster ride. It is a fireplace. It is not a firework. And this is fireworky. So I see a man who was just like so, you know, I don't even know what the word, I don't want to use any sort of word that puts the blame on Elizabeth for this, but like he felt repressed for whatever reason, and he's just like, blah! Just like a can of worms everywhere, open. And so he's going super extreme to feel as alive as possible because he doesn't know when he's going to be able to feel alive again, aka with his wife. He's like a chipmunk, frantically stuffing kinks in his cheek to like get him through like the blandness of his marriage, the winter of his emotions, right? And other people have come out and said, or apparently this accuser has talked to like other one of his kittens, as he called them, and it's like he would have a fight with his wife, then he'd call one kitten, pick a fight with them, that would go bust, then he'd move on to the next, that would go bust, pick another one, that would go bust, and just on and on the cycle would continue. That sounds like a cheating man. If you stripped away the layers of like the extreme vocabulary that's being used, this is just a cheating ass man, guys. Ain't nothing new under the sun. You can dress it up, you can dress it down. This is a man who got addicted to that feeling of feeling alive. Very few people cheat once. Very few people cheat once because that is an addiction. I feel alive. I feel, oh my God, like I'm finally awake. I can't go back to this wife who is a fucking stunner and probably a great mom and a cool chick and like, all right. Men are such trash. So he's got a harem on rotation. And he's not an idiot. He's a shitbird, but he's not an idiot. So he knows he has to be like, you're the only one. You're the only one. How else would you plug into this sort of insane intensity and know that I'm not going to leave my wife? Because I'm not. If you thought there were other mistresses. I have a friend who's been involved with someone who's not available. And my question was always, are you sure you're the only one? Are you sure he hasn't done this a million times before? And, you know, she feels confident that the answer to both those questions is what she wants to hear. But there's Armie hammers out there. There are. So that's my take on this. I'm not saying this is a good dude. I don't think he should be dropped from movies and replaced and like have endorsement deals taken away and like be hauled into court. I don't think that. He should be hauled into the court of shitty men. He should be hauled into like the feminist court of you're a garbage person. Yeah. But this doesn't skew as abuse to me, but the fuck do I know? I wasn't in these situations, and it's not any of our place to adjudicate on what someone else finds abusive. Because like I said, it's different strokes for different folks. I like getting choked and having my hair pulled, and someone else doesn't. Don't fucking do that to her. Don't do that to her, you know? So let's talk about what we can learn from this. How do we avoid getting in these Armie Hammer situations? Well, first of all, don't date married men. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to victim blame, but when we put ourselves in these positions with men who are not taken, or maybe they're men who are very financially capable, maybe they're super rich and you're not. The difference is power. That's what I want to warn you about. Imbalances of power. He's got a wife, he's holding all the cards. He's got all the money. I don't have any say in where we go or where we eat or what we do. And he controls my life, right? Oh, I dropped out of college. He's in the master's program, so he lords that over me and I don't have any power. That's not healthy. That's not healthy. And none of this is victim blaming, but it's also not victim bolstering either. You know what I hate more than anything? A fucking victim narrative. We are not victims here. And the way we stop being victims and start being champions is to examine our role in things. We owe that to ourselves. We owe that to shit the people around us who are tired of hearing it. And I'm saying this as someone who spent a lot of her life in a victim role. Everyone's against me and I'm every fuckboy. Oh, well, who was the common denominator? Was it me? And when I finally started getting real about my role in things, my self-justification of staying in toxic situations, why exactly I allowed behavior, it changed. So, stay away from men where there's a power imbalance. Stay away from it. But let's say that that's not the case. Let's say you're just in a relationship and he's into things that you are not into. Or, and I feel like this happens so much, we just get so blinded by wanting someone that we just give up so much of ourselves. And this is truly what Jessica Simpson talks about in her book a lot. So I think it's super resonant. If you're interested in this Armie Hammer story, I think that her book really will be very resonant for you, because it was for me. And I was like, oh my God, like, yeah, like I've been really examining recently how much I give of myself to my relationships, how much I historically have given, And then when I make overcorrections and I don't give enough, and how to find a more middle ground. And certainly we have to be able to do that sexually. I'm in my 30s. Like, I'm a grown woman. I've had sex with a lot of people. You got to practice to be good at, some or two at a time. And I know my boundaries, and I'm very comfortable with my body and my sexual history. Like, I'm like at the top of that mountain, but it was a hard climb, and I wasn't always. And because I wasn't, I got myself into a lot of very traumatic situations. I did. And I didn't deserve it, and it wasn't my fault, but I played a role in arriving there. I ignored red flags. I didn't bother to set any boundaries for myself. I didn't. I was so blinded by, I have to have him. I have to keep him. He has to leave his girlfriend. He has to pick me, love me, choose me. That I will give anything to this man. Anything. I will cancel plans with my girlfriends. I will not work on that book right now. I will stay up till 3 a.m. listening to his theories about communism and Jack Kerouac. And I'll be wrecked the fuck at work tomorrow. I don't need to do my laundry. I don't need to work out. I don't need to exist at all. Just please love me. And that was the most sharply seen when it came to sex. I was doing things that I didn't want to do out of obligation. And it's, so many of us feel like this, even in healthy relationships, where it's like, I just don't want to have sex tonight, but he's gonna, I don't want to disappoint him, blah, blah, blah. One of my New Year's resolutions literally was to stop having sex if I don't want to. And that sounds, first of all, it sounds embarrassing. It sounds pathetic. It sounds pathetic that I would even have to make that resolution. But then if you are a woman, you're going to stop and be like, no, I get it. I fully get that, I've really tried to commit this year to just radical honesty in my relationships. No, I don't want to hear about that anymore. I don't want to do that. I do need and want more of this. I don't feel like having sex. I don't want to try that in bed. And it's not about rigidity. No. It's not about like this no way of living. It's about knowing myself. And that is the work. That's the work, right? It's all well and good to say, I'm putting up boundaries. You can't put a fence on your property if you don't know where your property line is. You can't make an emotional boundary if you don't know where your emotional fence line is. Like, where does my desire end and begin? What actually do I like? So the time to decide your boundaries is not when the bra is already off, right? When you're in the middle of a hookup, honesty is a very difficult thing to achieve, whether it's like, I'm actually a virgin, or he's like, my penis is incredibly small and rarely works. Like, this is not the time, like, when you're going to disclose things that are like very honest and authentic. I mean, hopefully they are, but I think we all have to be a little realistic about what it's like when you're in the moment and you do want to please someone and you want to connect. And certainly we as women are taught by society to please and go with the flow and be polite, don't make waves. And that carries over into the bedroom. And honestly, like, it can lead to a lot of really traumatic situations, for sure. And I don't want that for you. I don't want that for me. I don't want that for any of us. And guys don't want that either. I mean, can you imagine knowing that a guy you've hooked up with is traumatized by something you did? That would be horrible. And of course, it's not as common. I don't even want to fucking hear that men are victims of sexual abuse as much as women are. Don't even come for me with that shit. Don't even try it. So when can we let someone know our boundaries, or just kind of like, not even like our boundaries? Here's a whiteboard, all the things I don't want to do and all the things I will do. We don't want to be like that. But just kind of like a vibe. Like, hey, I'm into this, but not Armie Hammer level, but I'm not into this, but I'm not going to like bug out if you do. Okay. The best way to impart this information is through stories about other people, honestly. I mean, look at how I do this channel. Like, I use other celebs to give examples and make analogies and start a dialogue in a way that isn't so like, hopefully, like naggy and pointed. So you can say something. One thing I love to ask guys is like, what's the dirtiest thing a girl's ever said to you? I think I asked that to Brennan in the live stream that we did. It's on my Instagram. I captured a real live boy and asked him sex questions that you guys submitted. Yeah, check it out on my Insta. But I love to get kind of a sense of like what a guy has experienced. I mean, is a girl like just saying insane, not insane, but like super crazy, dirty, like, I don't know, get into the barnyard and get a taste. Who knows? I don't know what people say out there. Or has he experienced like a lot of kind of, you know, more vanilla stuff like, ooh, baby. Like, is that the spiciest thing he's heard? Okay. And then you can share the spiciest thing you've heard. But feel free to lie, because what you're trying to do is establish boundaries. And again, rather than like barking at a guy like, I won't do this, I won't do that, like that's not going to create a sense of connection. And it's going to make you feel like you're like the heavy, you know, it's not a fun, sexy atmosphere. But if you can make up a story, you're like, oh, I had a guy say like, oh, I can't wait to choke you and pull your hair. And the guy you're talking to will be like, oh, really? He's like, yeah, like, I mean, a lot of girls love that stuff. I just don't. It makes me feel really like kind of frightened and vulnerable. I had a bad experience with it one time or whatever. So that's just like not my thing. Look, now you've imparted that with no wound to this dude's ego. It's not like he's in bed trying something he thinks you're going to like or something he enjoys. And you're like, I hate that. And he's like, holy shit, I'm so sorry. Like, that's disruptive. You don't want that vibe either. So that's kind of an easy way to massage things in. And bring this up as much as you need to. You, like, oh, put 50 Shades of Grey on. Oh, what's this? Oh, I'm so surprised. And then comment on the things you see. Oh, that spanking thing? No, I don't like that. I mean, maybe a little like grab here and there, but like a wind up, like I would donkey kick you in the solar plexus if you tried that. If we can't have these conversations with the people we're hooking up with, why are we letting them in our vaginas? I mean, honestly, if we can't communicate openly and honestly with someone who is literally opening our body, why are we doing this? To be liked? That doesn't sound like love or like to me. Someone I can't communicate with, someone who I'm like, okay, no, I hate that, but I'll do it to hold on to you. No one holds on to a man with her anus. I'm sorry, I know that's vulgar, but literally this is the truth, okay? If that is the body part we're using to hold on to a man instead of our minds or our hearts, girl, let his ass go. And let your ass go too. I'm sorry. But what if you have communicated these things? Or you just like, oh, like we're kind of not like that and it's kind of weird to bring it up. And things come up in the moment and you're like, he's like fishing around the back door. He's like pulling my hair and stuff. You know, I'm a big believer in positive reinforcement rather than like, no, you know, rather than doing that in the bedroom. If a guy is like putting his hand on my throat and I don't like that, or it's just, I don't know, sometimes you just don't want it, you know, or it's like your hair is good. A lot of guys will pull your hair like that. And I'm like, ow, fuck, stop. And there's a big difference between and ow, stop. Like one is like, ooh, fun, sexy. And one is like, don't do that. Don't pinch me. You know, I'll be like, wait, you know what I love? Put your hand in my hair like that and then close your fist. Like that's how you pull a girl's hair. You don't pull it from the root like you're in second grade, for God's sakes. I mean, you do pull it from the root, not the end. Like teach him what you do like. Or if it's the choking, be like, ooh, a little lighter, just a little. Like your hand is so powerful, you don't need to grab me hard at all. It's a compliment wrapped in a note. But what if they're not getting those notes? And what if they're like, I'm still going to pull your hair. I'm still grabbing you too hard. You have not only the right, but the obligation as being a woman who's true to herself to be like, hey, babe, I'm having so much fun, but you're kind of grabbing me hard. And it hurts kind of, and not in like the fun, sexy way, right? No quality man will have a problem with this. He'll be like, I'm so sorry. If a guy told you, hey, you're yanking on my balls and it hurts, you wouldn't be like, well, tough shit. Like you wouldn't do that. You'd be like, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize how sharp my nails were, or whatever it is. Like presumably you're there to please each other and have respect for each other. And if you're not, you need to know that. You need to know that that's who he is. And you need to walk in the light of the truth on, no, he's grabbing me hard because he wants to hurt me. Look, I don't want you to die in that bed. Do what you have to do to get through it and then cut him the fuck off. Seriously. I'm not saying like lay down and take it. No, you tell him what's going on, but like that is not the moment when a large man or even a small man, they don't have to be large to be stronger. An 11-year-old could murder me. Seriously, I'm not that big. And even if I was, they're stronger. that is not the time when you're naked and vulnerable and no one can hear you scream to pick a fight with a dude who might be wanting to hurt you. Do what you have to do to survive and then reevaluate after, right? And it's fucked up that that has to be the advice. It is, but it does. And this is what men don't understand. You know, they're afraid we're going to laugh or make fun. We're afraid we're going to die. We're afraid we're going to die. I went through a breakup with someone very volatile, and my guy friend was like, you know, just talk to him, even if it goes bad. I'm like, see, your version of bad is tears. My version of bad is I die. That's bad. That'd be bad. That would be bad. Or he breaks my jaw, or he smashes in my windows and comes in my house and rapes me. Like, your bad is not even in the fucking realm of conception for our bad. So why don't you have a few different seats? But guys, they don't know that. Like, you can't explain to them the experience of being a woman and how truly physically vulnerable we feel. So that's another angle you can take. You know, talk openly, not when you're in bed necessarily, but about what it is like to be a woman. Cite this video. You know, I watched this video and Shallon made such a good point about like how hard it is to be a woman. And, you know, we're so physically vulnerable that like when guys do things in bed, when they grab us really hard or when they yank our hair, they choke us, like they know they're not going to murder us, but we don't. And we sound crazy to be like, he'd never hurt me. There's a lot of dead girls that have said that, right? And we don't know. And it's not fun or sexy to be like, I hope he doesn't snap my neck. I hope he doesn't choke me until I pass out, because there's not going to be anything I can do. You know, very few women enjoy sex when they don't feel safe, whether that's emotionally safe or physically safe. And guys never don't feel safe. When they feel unsafe, it's kind of their fault. They're going 95 down the highway in the back rows with no seatbelt. They're jumping out of an airplane. They're shotgunning 11 White Claws in a row. It's like, you did this to yourself, my dude. Okay, you're base jumping off this tower in Singapore. Just save it. We feel unsafe going to the grocery store at the wrong time of day. We feel unsafe walking by ourselves through the woods. We feel unsafe jogging. These are normal things that we should feel safe doing. And guys don't get that. So we want to be able to educate them in a way that isn't preachy, because that just makes people recede. Nobody likes tactics of coercion and like belittling and badgering. That's been a big argument against the BLM movement. It's like, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. And people are just like, count me out. I'm receding away from this. We don't want men to do that with our experience as women, right? So it's up to us to impart these things to them in a way that's like gentle and like relatable. Like, hey, you know what I say to guys? Like, what if someone did that to your little sister? Be like, I fucking murder him. Why? Well, I mean, no one should treat her that way. Why? Well, it might scare her. Okay. We're all just flesh and blood women too. Like, I'm someone's little sister. I'm someone's daughter. I'm someone's best friend. Like, you know, take some inventory about what your actions do. Another trick is to get on top. Like, if you can get on top of him, you at least have a little bit more control in the situation. Another is to change up the location. If you're hooking up in bed and he's getting weird, be like, let's go downstairs. Ooh, I want to get you on the couch. A lot of times they'll lose their boner. Seriously. And you're like, babe, it's okay. Oh my gosh, it's totally fine. Let's watch a movie. But like I said, you have the right to be like, hey, you're kind of scaring me. Because a quality dude is going to be appalled that you feel that way and be very apologetic. And I mean, maybe he's never heard that before. You know, like, again, women are trained to just go with the flow. And so if this has been his flow, he's like, well, girls like it. I don't know. I've never heard any different. Why would he know? And for us, it's like, well, how could you not know that choking a girl is going to frighten her? I mean, it doesn't frighten me. So, you know, if someone hooks up with me and then they go to the next girl and she has a completely different set of what is comfortable for her, as she should, good for her. But he only comes from his own experience and he doesn't know. So it's important and it's okay to be honest with somebody about what you like and what they don't. And if we don't acknowledge that, then we're going to keep getting outcomes that are not only unsavory, they're traumatic. They're really traumatic. And they're not always traumatic in the moment. Sometimes you're like, no, this is fine. I want to be doing this. I want to be doing this. And afterwards you just feel like empty, or anxious or clingy to the guy. Like I never get so clingy as when I shouldn't be hooking up with someone. Whether it's, and I'm not saying someone like toxic or abusive, but just like an ex I shouldn't sleep with, a fuckboy I need to leave alone. And I know that. And it's like I cling onto them to turn what is a bad story into not just a standalone story. Shallon went over there and fucked him at 11 p.m. Why? No. It's just part of a larger story. It's just the conflict chapter in a fairy tale that's going to end with like us riding off into the sunset. And so I cling and I justify. Well, no. I liked doing all that. I like doing all that stuff. I like doing that. And this was great that I responded to his "you up" Snapchat and just drove right over there because we are going to end up together. We have to. Because if we don't, what am I doing? Whoa. Then the cognitive dissonance kicks in. Cognitive dissonance is a schism between what you think and what you want and what is authentic and what you're actually doing, right? And cognitive dissonance is truly the root of every single problem we have in our lives. I believe it's the root of like cancer and our body breaking down. I think it's the root of depression and anxiety. I mean, of course, it's medical things, but you know what I mean. The mind creates the body. I believe this. And so do doctors, by the way. I'm not like some MLM like pyramid schemer trying to sell you oils. But if we don't get clear about what we want, our behaviors are never going to match. And we're going to be in a constant state of cognitive dissonance, right? Which is going to make us just plain old miserable. So the time to decide what are your boundaries, like I said, is not when he's already on top of you. Sit with yourself and be like, I don't like anal. I don't like it. I don't want to try it. I tried it once. I hate it. We're not doing it. Okay, girl, that's fine. I don't like to be choked. It makes me feel sketched out and frightened. Great. You don't have to. Who cares? Like, no quality guy will be like, oh, I hate that. Like, they're going to respect your boundaries. They might be like, oh, well, I've actually been into that, but I don't want to make you feel uncomfortable. That's not why any of us are here. We're here to connect in the intimacy. They're going to be on the same page about that. And if they're not, you need to know that sooner rather than later. I just did a cameo for one of you guys. Hi! If you want to book a cameo with me, I love doing cameos. You can like ask for advice, get a birthday shout out, anything like that. But one of you, she was, hi A, she's like, you know, there was this guy and he came on like super strong, calling me every day and like all this sex and blah, blah, blah. And I was just feeling like, whoa, like anxious and uncomfortable. And I told him, I'm like, hey, like we need to have like some boundaries, slow this down, pump the brakes. And he ghosted. And she's like, I know that it was the right thing, but it makes me sad. It was the right thing. And of course it makes you sad. Not because, oh, I lost this incredible love. But I mean, in a way, it's like you want to think that intensity is, again, part of, it's just a chapter in this beautiful, intense, amazing, magical love story that society has told us is possible. But firework versus fireplace, right? I said, this guy was a lever no matter what. He come in hard and fast and flashy, firework. And wouldn't you rather know that he's a lever on week 6 instead of month 6? Because he was going to leave eventually. He was going to get bored. This was some drive-through pussy for him, right? You know, he's just in and out here for a good time and a long time. Bye, 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 bye. And it is horrible when there is writing on the wall and we have no choice but to read it. When we just look at it. When we just can't deny it anymore. It's torture. But isn't it more torturous to stick it out and get there anyway? Like I say, so many of the things you guys say to me in the questions, it doesn't come down to, I didn't know. It comes down to, I saw it and I chose to ignore it. That's why I'm upset. That's why we get upset. That's why we get bitter. That's why we hate ourselves. That's why our self-esteem erodes. Fuck all that noise. Fuck all that shit. I'm about reading the writing on the wall as quickly as possible because I'm not sacrificing myself to hold on to anyone. I spent a decade doing that. I spent my 20s doing that. And I'm not doing it anymore because it ended up in the same place anyway. If me saying, oh, I won't do anal, if that's a deal breaker, let it break. If it's fragile, let it break. It was going to break anyway. And a guy who has those kind of weird deal breakers, he doesn't see you as a person. He doesn't. He sees you as a possession. He sees you as a refrigerator. We've talked about this refrigerator thing before, where like if my refrigerator stops working or doesn't like get cold anymore, I'm not like, oh, that's okay. Just move it to the garage and let it live out its days. I'm like, get this thing out of my fucking house. It's not of use to me anymore. If we say to a guy like, oh no, I don't work in this way now. I'm not going to do that. And he's like, get the fuck out of my house. You are a refrigerator to that man. And you are nobody's refrigerator. You are no one's large appliance or small appliance. You are a whole ass, beautiful, wild woman. And you need to know if that's who you're dealing with. So smoke them out. Smoke them out. I love calling bluffs. Yeah, it hurts to be like, wow, that's just who you were. But the best part of any mystery show is when they unmask the killer, right? When they're like, that's who the culprit is. If you're the culprit, I want to tear that mask off and I want to see it. I want to walk in the light of the truth and not waste my non-renewable resource. The one thing I can't get back. Time. Your perky tit years. The best years of your life, which is every year of your life, right? Because you're alive and you are breathing and you have another day to live on this planet and not everybody gets that. Are you going to waste it with a guy who has boxed you in and you're a kitten to him, you're a slave, you're whatever? Why? To hold on to him? Why do you need to? Why do you need to? And this has to be the question we ask ourselves all the time. All the time. Because if we don't, our fear brain is taking over and we're letting it do whatever it wants. And we're just like, oh, okay, no, I have to hold on to him. No. Examine it. Go to that fear brain and be like, the fuck you talking about? Make your case. No. Make your case for why you're telling me I will never find another guy who wants to be with me again. Because that sounds crazy to me. Does that sound crazy to you? Sounds crazy to me, fear brain. So make the case. You can't. Goodbye. We have to look these things in the face. The way to become bulletproof against people like this, pushers, takers, is to have those boundaries. You know what I say. Givers need boundaries because takers don't have any. How do we create those boundaries? Well, we've talked before about our gratitude ladder and our manifestation ladder. I have videos, my recent videos on how to like level up for the new year and manifest anything, really helpful in explaining this concept. But basically, like gratitude. If you can't be grateful, if you can't just like fill your heart with gratitude, you're having a bad day, I get it. Start with something small. Hey, I'm alive. Okay, I'm grateful I'm alive. I'm grateful I'm alive and I'm healthy. I'm grateful I'm alive, I'm healthy, and I have food and I have shelter. You go up and down that ladder until you can get all the way to the top. You're like, I am grateful that I am smart and loved and this and that and ba. Okay, I feel good again. We have to have a ladder of boundaries, a ladder of choice. And we have to get very good at saying yes or no based on what feels authentic. We have to make room in our lives to listen to that authentic voice because the authentic voice is quiet. Ooh, she's whispering. The loud fear voice is loud. And what can we hear better? Loud or quiet? When you work on centering yourself, taking 15 minutes to just, okay, maybe it's 15 seconds. To recenter yourself, you're going to know more about yourself. There's a reason happy people meditate. And there's a reason there's like meditation is a thing because it brings you back to that foundation of who am I? What feels authentic to me? What's bubbling up? What do I like? If you don't know where to start small. Pepsi or Coke? Do I like peanut butter and jelly or just peanut butter? Do I like to drive or do I like to be a passenger? I don't mean like in your life. I mean just like literally down the street. I like to drive. I don't like to be a passenger. I don't like anyone else's driving but my own. So when we can do that, when we can get these micro decisions out of the way, we feel, and they seem silly, right? They just seem silly. But I spent so much of my life being like, oh yeah, camping? I love camping. I love tapas too. No, I love those things. I fucking hate camping and I fucking hate tapas, okay? And when I remember these moments, that's how silly it is. I remember these moments when I was like, no, I don't. I'm not gonna do either anymore. It sounded small, but it was actually such a huge step for me as a person to be like, no. These are my boundaries about tapas and camping. But it gave me that foundation to be like, wow, I stood up for myself and the world didn't end. My friends still like me. I still have a boyfriend. Maybe I could stand up for myself in other categories. So those little decisions, those little self-knowledge bits, They might seem small, but they're not, because they're part of a ladder, right? And you move up that ladder. And again, this isn't about rigidity. It's about knowing yourself. Like, okay, fine. If my friends really want to try this brand new tapas restaurant that came in, sure, I don't care. But that's the thing. I am making the purposeful decision. Okay, let's go. I don't feel like a kite in the wind, like, oh, whatever you want. Who do you need me to be to love me? I will be that tapas camper. I'll be her. No, I won't. Okay, don't like anal. You really want to try it? All right, get me drunk on enough tequila. Maybe we will. But that's a choice. I'm not going to do it. But like, that's a choice where you're like, okay, I am judging the situation. I am evaluating it. All right. And I also reserve the right to change my mind. I could get to tapas and be like, I fucking hate this menu, guys. I'm going next door. You can meet me after. I'll buy you a round of drinks. I love you. Goodbye. No, I can't do this. Goodbye. Okay? We cannot expect people to respect boundaries that we don't set, right? Someone's going to walk right up to your front door if there's no gate, obviously. And you can't blame them for them. Nothing was keeping them out. So it's about crafting that decision ladder. But like I said, it's about knowing yourself. And we don't want to view these situations as being in our hands. And look, I'm not saying that women are the architect of their own abuse. Absolutely not. But there are a lot of things we can do to make ourselves far less vulnerable to predators, obviously. Shitty men, manipulative, not even men, people, just shitty people love a weakling. Even in the animal kingdom, who does a wolf go for in that pack of bison? Oh, it's not the big bull leading the charge. It's the little baby. It's a sickly baby. It's the old folks, right? You pick off the weak ones. Humans are no different. So we have to make ourselves as bulletproof as possible, as aware and brave as possible. I'm going to read the writing on my own wall about why I'm doing things, what my fear brain is saying, what I can do to shore up my confidences, why I think I need to dump my entire existence into this man. Is it because there's nothing else in my existence? I've ignored my career. I fucked all my friends over. I won't resolve some childhood trauma. But no, I'm going to latch on him. He's going to save me. I would love to give control over to him because I don't really want to be in control of my life at all, as it turns out, because it sucks. I have been in control for 20 something years and turns out I'm bad at it. Armie, would you like to come in and take the reins? Great. But when you do that, absolute power corrupts absolutely. And again, it's not your fault if someone turns abusive, for sure. But, it's not your fault if you get robbed, but it is like your responsibility to lock your doors. So we have to keep our emotional doors sturdy. Not locked, we want to be open. But you know what I mean. We need to make sure we are an emotional fortress in a healthy, good way. And not leave ourselves vulnerable to people who are using us to feel alive, to feel in control, to exact some sort of existential revenge on all women because they were a geek in high school. Whatever it might be. People like that take a look at women like us, strong women, and they're like, no, just moving on. They weed us out as fast as we weed them out, and that's what I want. That's what I want. I want to smoke those people out. I want them to leave if I set a boundary. If it's fragile, let it break, because something is going to break. And baby girl, if it's not him, it's going to be you. And we're not going to let that happen. I want to know your thoughts on this Armie Hammer debacle. We're going to be back with some videos on Sex and the City. I'm going to break down how to leave a toxic friend, because this Kim Cattrall, Sarah Jessica Parker thing, they're geriatric cute. I just don't know what to do about this anymore. It just never seems to end. The endless pettiness. We've also got some new videos coming up on Infstream. Speaking of sex, we're gonna break down how to be more kinky, how to get a vanilla guy to maybe be a little bit spicier. I'll see you later, Shalligators. Mwah!